Alright, let's do this. Copy and Carna Fixes episode 2. Why play Warhammer? Why Warhammer? I touched on this briefly in my first intro video. I first discovered Warhammer rather early. I was between like 12 and 14, late 90s, days of dial-up internet and Toonami. I can't remember who stumbled across Warhammer first, if it was myself or my good friend Jeremy. Either way, we quickly shared it with each other. This was in the start of like 3rd edition 40k and 5th edition Warhammer Fantasy. A lot of the miniatures at the time were metal, specifically pewter. If you have never assembled a pewter model, count yourself lucky. They are a pain. You need really great super glue, patience, maybe some green stuff, and in some cases tools to pin parts. At this time, not everything in the codex necessarily had a model. Also, not all weapon options came in the box. Oftentimes, metal models came modeled with set options that had many more that required conversion, kit bashing. The group was fine with it, just a proxy. Sometimes, like with Tyranids, models even came with square bases instead of round bases in 40k at that time. At this time, I was also really big into strategy games like StarCraft. At that time frame, we just started to move away from, more traditional kids' toys. I still had a large Beast Wars Transformers collection. I had a lot of Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles action figures growing up as a kid. I was also really into RPGs and adventure games on PC, a Super Nintendo, and my N64 at the time. I feel a lot of us that were kids in the 90s, we were also exposed to a lot of great sci-fi and fantasy series and movies of the era. So when you're into all of these things, and then you stumble across a game that has a fantasy and sci-fi setting, it also has a variety of factions and models, and art that's awesome and edgy, which was cool in the 90s, okay? The models were so different than the sports cars and fighter jet models you usually saw were gifted at the time. Not only were the models cool, but you played a game with them. Like, how freaking awesome this is. I can play a strategy game with models. But the problem is when you're a preteen discovering this, you kind of need to sell your parents on it, on the hobby to enter it. Which luckily our parents did a little. We would also save our allowances. I literally did lawn work for a neighbor to earn money to buy miniatures. I was buying Skaven models at the time. It's a little bit later, but we'd buy the boxes when we could. Holiday, birthday, our parents getting us a couple, Now, at the time, I think the average price of all boxes was like $35, maybe 30 bucks. And then I think the most expensive boxes at the time were like $50. I could be wrong on this. This was a long time ago. They weren't coming out of my pocket at the time. Not really. But like I wonder how those prices compare to like the inflation rate compared to modern prices as well, how they kept with inflation, but it's not a subject for here. Warhammer's also how I met a portion of my friend group that I hung out with through middle school and high school. So some of them I still talk to on a regular, semi-regular basis in my late 30s. We were younger, we didn't care about balance, and we all just threw down a bunch of models for huge mega battles that took all day. It was social events, it was like a nerdy party, it was a really good time. Now, when I first entered the game, I thought the surface level was really cool, the models are awesome, but I was most interested in actually playing. When I was younger, I did not like putting models together, because like I mentioned before, metal models were freaking painful to put together. Assembling the early Bloodthirster and keeping those wings and the whip on when you're really inexperienced in this hobby. And don't store your models properly because you're a dumb teenager. And then painting wasn't my thing, the Citadel stuff was expensive, and I was bad at it. Sometimes I testers acrylic paints for like model cars, not the best for Warhammer models if you've ever tried that or made that mistake. Tiny little copy there. Later on, I got more into like proper play of Warhammer, rather to paint better. I got into painting, like really into the painting part of the hobby. I'll say assembly is something I still load for quite a while. Nowadays, it kind of depends on the kit. Some kits are a pleasure to assemble and they're kind of fun. Some kits I feel like the slightest bit of warping or bending or I didn't clean it up just right and I get awful gaps in it and then I get really annoyed. But it's just a pain sometimes. I've also built a gaming table in the past, in terrain. I used to have a display board for my old Tyranid army. I need to make one for the current Tyranid army. But I feel every aspect of this hobby is enjoyable. I think everyone's going to have their different favorite parts of it. But overall, I enjoy the hobby as a whole. It's fun, it keeps you busy, it covers a broad spectrum of activities, so you get a fair bit of variety inside the hobby. For me, the only thing that can kill the variety is painting a full army all at once. Just because you're painting often the same scheme over and over again across a bunch of different models. Unless you're paying a super elite army, then you get the easy card on that one. I think as people get into the hobby, you fall into like a few groups, like just kind of like loose groups. So start, some people I would say are like the edge of the hobby, looking at maybe the lore or the video games, maybe a bottle model or two, but they never went any further. Perhaps they saw someone react to Bricky's video about all the Warhammer factions, like, wow, this seems really freaking cool. Now I say like the next level of people are the ones that get really into the lore. They read the novels. Maybe they got a few models, but overall they care more about the stories, the lore of the universe. And they're not really into the game or the minis. That's okay. They think it's really cool though, still usually. But now we get into the plastic crack part of the hobby. Once you really get into the collecting the models, it can go a few ways or a combination of it all. Let's start with the biggest interest as you're playing the game. You want to get some models, throw them down on a table, roll handfuls of dice with some friends or at your local game shop. Just have a good time. Maybe venturing in the competitive, like narrative or campaign play. Um, Perhaps you don't want to play, but you just want to collect them all. So you buy your favorite models, learn to paint. You don't really have a desire to play. Although you take your time to learn to paint better and like learn new techniques. You just get like really into the building, maybe do some conversion or some scratch building. And I'd say finally you're like into it all. Like you let every aspect of the hobby like consume you, do all of it. You're painting, you're building, you're assembling, you're building terrain, you're doing narrative play, you're doing tournaments, you're just fully invested. Or you could just do a combo of all these things. But either way, this hobby will keep you busy. Painting and assembly can often be therapeutic for a lot of people. Especially for me, the painting aspect is very meditative, it's tranquil. As well, you learn new techniques, or paint more and more. You can see your progress and improvement across your minis, which is really rewarding and encouraging. You have physical proof of your progress on hand. Then later, you can repaint some of your first minis and really elevate them, feel accomplished that you gained or improved in a skill, or revel in the fact that you just made something that looks freaking awesome. It's also a social hobby. I can say that. Unless you're just solo collecting, cut off from society, there are numerous communities online and in person that participate in this hobby at some level or another. Even if you're just playing with your local friends and buds, it's still a reason to meet up, get together, and roll some freaking dice. Maybe grab some food, a few beers, maybe some puffs with the buds. Maybe you're going to venture out and play at your local game shops, or get into tournament play. You're going to meet and chat with so many others that enjoy the same hobby as yourself. Being into the hobby gives you so much water cooler conversation with almost anyone that's into the hobby. It's great. So even if you're a big introvert, other people in the hobby likely are too. But you have mutual enjoyment of this hobby to share and express with others. And sometimes that makes it easier to socialize as an introvert, even with other introverts, and it's great. You make friends or just have some nice conversation while throwing some dice and models around. It's a good time, man. And personally for me, I've used this hobby to help with grief. Without going into like a lot of sad things, adjusting my life and the changes after losing my mom, it's been difficult to say the least. And getting back into this hobby has been a huge boon for me. It helps keep me busy. Painting is relaxing and very zen-like for me. Playing out strategies, list building, etc. It's just fun. Keep your mind busy. Painting and modeling also gives you an outlet to express yourself. And I love tournament play in Warhammer. Warhammer tournament scene is generally a great place. You get to play a lot of games with a lot of good people. Sure, every so often you get a big jerk. I mean, you're going to have that everywhere. But the main reason to play a tournament is they guarantee you play 3 or so games depending on the event. Which is great. You go in, you're going to get 3 games in at your local game shop. You go to a bigger event, you're going to get 5 to 7 games over a weekend. And you get to socialize and chill. It's a great time. I'm also not afraid to travel, so for me, sometimes tournaments become a little adventure during grabbing a few hours, checking out a new game shop and area, meeting the communities there, meeting some of the players there, getting to see a variety of tables and armies. It's always great in this hobby, especially nowadays because the tables are so much more terrain dense. It's so cool going to like a variety of game shops. I've been to a lot of them in the area. And seeing everyone's tables and terrain. It's so freaking cool. Or like just other people's armies where people are collecting and how they painted them and everything. It's just, I love it. Same thing when you go to like a grand tournament, you get to walk around the hall and just see everyone's armies out. It's like this is cool. This is like the mecca of the hobby. In general, hobbies can have a lot of health benefits, which have been studied. But just real fast, there's like literally reading off just bullet points that I found on Google. If you really want to go into this, I do research all this. I don't want to get super into like medical and science stuff, even I really like that stuff too. Hobbies can help with stress relief, mood enhancement, reduce depression, social connections, self-esteem, personal growth, lower blood pressure, improved immune function from reduced stress. Hobbies can give you a sense of purpose and meaning of life. And it says like especially like during times of transition where you're feeling unmotivated, which is one I've definitely experienced myself a lot. Engaging in challenging hobbies can help keep your mind active and improve cognitive function. There's a lot of rules to Warhammer. There's a lot of stats, there's a lot of numbers to remember and memorize, and that you start memorizing after just doing them all the time. But that's a lot. You don't realize, like, until you try explaining it to someone that's never done it before. It can help increase creativity, improve focus, and it can help with time management skills, especially if you're a tournament player. And you have so much time to get to your table, so much time to play around. You gotta hope the other person's playing fast too. Like, there's there's a lot of time management in this. You set up how you position, like even where your stuff's at, or even time management, like getting the models put together, painted, having them ready for an event, or just, in general for yourself, having goals for it. But just briefly, there are some downsides of this hobby. That was the obvious one. It's kind of expensive. The game has never gotten cheaper. Models have gotten better. Kits are way better overall, especially from when I first started. It is such a difference nowadays. It's a tough economy. We may not have the disposable income to sink $500+ into an army. And I would say a lot of hobbies, though, can be quite expensive, though. It's not just Warhammer. Like, the quick examples like golf that comes to mind. The shoes, the clubs, the green fees, that stuff adds up really freaking quick. And there's some really expensive clubs out there. I don't follow politics, but I have seen the memes about Warhammer prices post tariffs, so we'll see how that plays out for us all. Maybe buy some models now, in case that does happen. It's also considered a lifestyle hobby because of how much time you can invest in it. The amount of time it takes to assemble and fully paint a standard 2K army is a lot. It can be a little daunting. I mean, don't get me wrong on that. So the time investment can be a huge downside. I'd also say the lore can be a downside as well. Like when there's just so freaking much of it. Like, where do you start? Some lore is ridiculous and gaudy, so you'll either love it or you hate it, depending on your taste. Or maybe it'll depend on the lore tidbit for you. Just don't take the lore too seriously, though. It makes it more enjoyable when you accept the silly, quirky, and gaudy parts of it. But I think for the moment, that's all I have to say on this here. Hey, thank you for listening. Thank you for anyone that's seen my videos or subbed the channel. I really appreciate it. I meant to kind of do this video last week, so like a week behind right now because I meant to do these weekly. So right now it's like over 2 weeks. But hopefully the next one comes out weekly. I do have some busy time coming with work. But hopefully I'll get some pickup games before, and then I have a tournament coming not this weekend, but the weekend after, the weekend of the 3rd, May 3rd. So I'll do a video talking about that tournament and the games I played on that one as well here coming up. Anyways, thank you again. Have a good one. Go drink some coffee.